Hello, everybody. Welcome to Class Action this week. I'm your host, Jim Murphy. I teach at Whittier Middle School, and this is a week where we want to highlight the Red Ribbon campaign that's going on in Norman and actually all over the state, I believe. Let me introduce my guests. They are all from West. They are Mary Jane Argentos, an English teacher at West, and two students, two sophomores, Ernestine Green and John Sparks. Welcome to Class Action. First, I'd like to start the show by having you give some background about yourself. So, Mary Jane, would you tell us a bit about yourself?
Sure, Jim. I have been teaching at West for 16 years. I really started there as a young teacher back in the early 70s. We moved to Norman when my husband came here to law school. He's a Norman attorney. And I have two daughters who are spread a little bit apart. One is 18 and just finished Norman High last year. And then I have a 3-year-old. I don't know what to say now.
Well, that's all right. So I guess you've been teaching in Norman since you started teaching, right?
That's right.
Okay, wonderful. Ernestine, tell me a little bit about yourself. What makes Ernestine different from everybody else?
Ooh.
Or what do you like to do?
Well, I like to just have fun with my friends. Just do anything that we can do just to have fun and be drug-free.
Are you involved in any clubs or activities or extracurricular?
I'm the treasurer of the French Club at West, and I'm involved in our Students Without Any Stupid Substances group at West. And we meet at lunchtime and just get together and talk about doing things to be drug-free, I guess.
Well, good for you. And John?
I'm John Sparks. I like to play football and baseball. I used to run track and do that for baseball. And I'm in SWAS with Ernestine, Student Council, Spanish Club, and the United Nations. And I enjoy just helping kids to the school and trying to set an example.
Wonderful. All right. Now, of course, the focus of this program is the Red Ribbon Week that's going on in Norman. And I guess the first thing we need to do is, for the benefit of the people that are watching that don't know what this program is about, may have heard of it, may not have heard of it, let's give them a little background. Mary Jane?
Well, the Red Ribbon campaign is actually a national, kind of a public awareness campaign. In 1985, a federal agent was killed in the line of duty. And so a group of people wanted to remember that particular tragedy and the significance of it in a national awareness campaign. Last year was the first Red Ribbon campaign, and I think that the National Federation of Parents for a Drug-Free Youth was astounded at how the campaign took off and spread from community to community. We had a Red Ribbon Week at West, as most of the schools did here in Norman, and we were surprised and excited to see that our students really responded and wanted to be a part of this. And that was then the beginning of our kind of germinating the idea of a more comprehensive and intensive approach to drug education. And that's the kind of program that we're then piloting this year at West.
All right. Now, how did it... I know there's lots of preparation that goes on for this particular week and involving the students. Can we kind of start from the beginning and talk about what you did this summer and last week and the things to prepare for this week at West?
Sure. Our preparations began a year ago. Just after the first Red Ribbon campaign finished, the faculty looked around and said, there's a possibility here for really doing a major program. And so I took the idea to my principal of making this my baby, so to speak, and really taking responsibility for looking at other programs around the nation in drug and alcohol prevention and trying to find out what had been done, what was effective, what wasn't, and how we could do a sort of state-of-the-art prevention program at West. So I spent a number of months gigging around in the OU library and working with the computer for literature search, and really read several hundred articles about the kinds of things that had been done around the country. Then, as a part of putting the program together, I took a group of students this past summer to Project REACH, which is a drug and alcohol prevention program that is actually national. Again, sponsored by the National Federation of Parents for Drug-Free Youth. And we could bring 5 students from our school with a sponsor. Ernestine and John were 2 of those students, and we spent 2 very intensive days and 1 very intensive night, at least for the old folks like me, working with the Project REACH folks about how to bring back ideas about making our school a drug-free school.
I see. Okay, and I'm curious. I know I've already known Ernestine because Ernestine went to Whittier where I teach, and I didn't know John, but I'm wondering how were those 5 students selected out of all the students in the student body?
They were nominated by their teachers, and for being students who had influence on their peers socially. And then the group of students who were nominated, and there were about 10 or 12, as I remember, came in and were asked about whether or not they would like to participate in this kind of a program.
Okay, now let's talk a little bit about the program itself, or Project REACH. Is that right? And where it was and what you did there, and what effect it had on you, and how did it prepare you for for this week's activities at West? Ernestine, John, tell me about what happened last summer.
When we went to this workshop, we really just thought we were just going to go to get informed. And what it did is it brought to our attention the things that need to be changed, and it also brought to our attention the things that we need to do in order to change them. And so when we got there, they just told us, they said, they gave it to us straight. If you're going to be drug-free, you got to walk the walk. You can't, go from side to side. And they showed us things to do. They educated us. They entertained us. They showed us that it wasn't bad at all to be, drug-free and to be just use no substance in order to make yourself special. And so it made us feel like we really belonged, and the people around us made us feel the same way. So we just felt like, and when you get out there, I was just pumped up. I was ready to do everything. And I told somebody that I was ready to save the world, but I would settle for West Mid High. That's where I'm at, and that's what I want to do. I want to, go to West, and we can change as much as we can while I'm there. And when I get to Norman High, they have to get ready for me. I'm ready to do whatever it takes to get us as close as possible.
Well, so it sounds like at least one of the effects of the conference in Edmond, the REACH project, was that first of all, it built up your enthusiasm for the program, and yet, but I guess when you came back at the start of this week or the start of the Red Ribbon Week, you all might have had some special skills or some training that the other students at West didn't have. Would that be right?
I think we were more informed. We knew what this was all about, and we could encourage others to say, "You guys, take this seriously, because this is, it could happen to you anytime."
We knew how to get the group started and how to get everybody situated, get things going, get things on the track and rolling. Tell them what substances would do to you if you took them, like marijuana. Before you light it, it has just 400 chemicals, but when it's lit, it has over 2,000 that will harm you.
Oh, gosh. Okay, so Now, let's go ahead and get in on, find out about the activities that are going on this week, or actually last week, as the people are watching the show now. What day to day, what has been happening at West? Let's start with Monday.
We had Monday. We had Jim Riley. Jim Riley's a speaker who came and spoke to our student body. He was a professional football player for the Miami Dolphins and won the Super Bowl. Everything, but he came to us and told us about his life and what alcohol and drugs did to him. And through him, he used himself as an example to show us, you don't need to do this to be cool or anything. He said, I did it and I wasn't cool. He said, it hurt me, it hurt my wife. He said, you want to be cool, just, don't stay away from drugs and stuff. It's just going to ruin your life, because he had it all going for him, football player stuff. Then his wife and kids left him and things because alcohol really, it just hurt him, it destroyed his life. And he said, you don't need this to happen to you. So, it's his generation that caused the problem. So they said it was okay. The burden is what they started, and we got to try and solve it. Our generation.
Well, Jim Riley, a former NFL football player, coming to West to talk to the student body. I'm wondering what effect that might have had on the student body. Did you see the reaction that it had, or what people thought, the impression that he left on the group? What did you see?
Well, I saw that people were seeing that how big this guy was, and the fact that he could break down and love others, is that we needed to do that too, to make people feel important, and that we don't need the fact that we don't need the drugs and stuff to make us who we are, that we make us who we are. And I think when he was trying to not force on us, but to push toward us, love yourself so you can love others. And he just motivated us so much that there's no way you could have ignored him. Something he said would have gotten to you. It could have been the smallest thing he said, but he grabbed your attention no matter what, and he was there for us. That's what he was there for. He wasn't there for himself to make the money. Mm-hmm. He proved that to us at the beginning. He was there for us, for our benefit.
It sounded like he opened himself up a lot. He kind of bared his soul to the group.
He kind of suggested there's 3 tracks. There's non-user, and then the users, and then there's some that are just hung. In between, he says, the people who are non-users need to stop and look down, and whichever ones wish you lost you. So you bring him up, and if you can, bring one that's a user, bring him up with you. So don't come up by yourself.
All right, so Jim Riley spoke to the student body on Monday. What about Tuesday?
Well, actually, he was there for 2 full days on campus. This was not a speaker who came in and did his bit and left, so to speak. He did 3 full-hour assemblies both days. Monday, 3 hours with the 9th graders. First, the whole 9th grade student body. Then he met with the boys and then with the girls. Then in the afternoon, he was open for students coming in to see him individually or in small groups. And there were lines, literally, to spend time with him. Then the next day, he spent with the 10th grade. And he's actually going to come back at some point for a 3rd day, because there were students who wanted to see him that didn't have the chance.
Great. So there's obviously a big response to Jim Riley.
Yeah.
A lot of people liked him because he'd take the time to listen to you and try and help you the problem. Like Mr. Argento said, he wouldn't come in and say what he had to say and leave. He said what he said, and he said, I'm in this room, and I'm here for your help. Yeah. And everything, he just stayed with the students.
I think another significant activity, one that's having a big impact, are our T-shirts.
Yes, let's talk about the T-shirts.
They say drugless, y'all, on the front, a bit of anti-establishment jargon there. But these were supplied, at least in part, by Norman merchants. Coy Wright and Dale Daniels and Jerry Mowdy of Coca-Cola made sizable contributions to allow us to have our own T-shirts printed for our students to be able to actually publicize and stand up and be proud of the fact that they are drug-free. they paid a small amount for their T-shirts, and if they were willing to sign a pledge to remain drug-free during our program. And so the typical student, has signed up to stand and be counted as drug-free.
So I'm sorry, but the sponsors are Wrights, IGA,
Wrights, IGA,
and Reynolds Ford, and Coca-Cola.
And Coca-Cola.
I
That's
see.
right.
And well, now how about the Drugless Y'all? How did that? Whose idea was that, or how did that come about?
It was at Reach, one of our speakers holding up T-shirts of different kinds and have sayings on them, and he said, "Here's one for all you Oklahomans, drugless, y'all." And it kind of stuck there. Everybody said, "You're from Oklahoma." Yeah, y'all.
So that was chosen at Edmond this summer.
They had it, and we carried it to our school.
Caught on.
Yeah.
I see.
To bring to our school.
I see. Well, it is catchy. All right. So, how about the rest of the week? What are some of the other activities at West in connection with the program?
We're having a number of speakers and people from the community who have taken the time to come in and spend quite a few hours at our school. And in some cases, Virgil Simmering, who is a doctor here in Norman, is actually coming into our school for 2 hours a day for the entire week. And he will meet at some point with every student on our campus and talk about the physiological aspects of drug and alcohol use. And that kind of immediate interaction with an adult, I think, is really very important. The mayor is coming to talk with the Oklahoma history classes. Dick Schwartz, who is a clinical psychologist from Oklahoma City, is coming in to talk about musicians and their involvement with drugs and alcohol in their profession. A lot of people who are willing to come in and make themselves available to our students, and that's a really important aspect.
It sounds like this is a program that's not simply being carried out in homeroom or after school or at lunch, but it is integrated into the curriculum. Is that correct?
Definitely. That's really the focus of the program is curricular. And our faculty spent a good deal of time in teacher in-service early in the year preparing for the program. They then work by department in order to provide what we think is a unique program in drug education. And that is that every student will receive 30 hours of preventive education. Every class, every hour of the day for a full week is involved from the standpoint of their particular piece of the curricular pie. Our faculty has really had a strong sense of mission, I think, about the importance of the problem and everybody taking responsibility for making a change and bringing about a drug-free school.
Okay, now I want to kind of get into some social aspects of this. I know society's attitudes about drugs have clearly changed, and it hasn't been that long ago, 3, 4, 5 years ago, than from what it is today, and especially 10, 15, 20 years ago, where perhaps there was a time, a generation ago, where drugs were accepted, and maybe they were even glorified, and yet we've made an enormous change to where no longer drugs glorified and they're not accepted, and I guess it's not so cool anymore for a student to get involved in drugs. But I have to wonder that it seems like it's one thing at school in a controlled environment where there's teachers around and lots of positive influence not to do drugs, to have that, to think that way and know that that's the right way to do it. But then the real test comes on the weekends when kids are out on their own and there aren't parents around, there aren't teachers around, and for them to still be able to make the decision to be drug-free and to stand up to whatever peer pressure might be around to indulge in drugs. Am I being cynical about that, or how do kids handle that?
I guess when you're out on the weekend, we were at a party,
Mm-hmm.
and I went to a party with my brother, and we came in, and first thing we did, we came in the door, and the guy said, "Here's your beer." And my brother said, "Well, we don't drink," and everything stopped in the whole room, and he goes, "Hey, these guys don't like beer." And so, and about 5 minutes later, a whole bunch of other people come up, and they were holding beer, saying, "We don't either." And they said, "We're just here with our friends," and they were just following their friends. And so I said, "Well, hey, why don't we get together and go out and do something?" But a lot of them are following their friends and kind of in the trail.
Well, so you're saying it just took that one person that could stand up and say, "No, I'm not going to do it," and be real definite about it. And then I guess those people on that middle road you're talking about that were they weren't really sure, and by doing that, taking that definite action, you could pull a lot of people over with you and completely change the trend.
So we were doing a prank one time, me and my brother, and we told everybody we're having this big party and all this stuff. And what we bought non-alcoholic beer. So there wasn't any alcohol, and it was like water, flavored water.
Mm-hmm.
And we bought it, and we're at a big party, and everybody's drinking, and they were acting like they're drunk, stumbling around and stuff. And when we announced it, everybody got real mad and left. But the people are just trying to do it to act cool for their friends, look cool for everybody else. And they're not.
Mm-hmm.
I think what we need to do is we need something to convince them that, not using drugs is the majority now. I mean, it used to be a minority where people would say, well, if you're not using drugs, then you must be sick. Right now, we're trying to say, okay, people that aren't using drugs, we're the majority, and we don't want there to be a minority. We want everyone to be in one boat. I think that should be the goal of everyone, to make it not a minority, but the majority, and not see that we're small, but we're big, and we're uprising, and we're powerful. We can do anything.
Oh, and I know that has so many spin-off effects, not just being at a party and not just driving without drinking and the most immediate things, but as far as the attitude you have about yourself, about the kind of attitude you have about your schoolwork and your future and your friends and life in general. I know having that kind of a drug-free point of view it has all kinds of added benefits.
Yeah.
Today at our seminar, who was that, John?
John Austin.
John Austin was our speaker at a seminar today, and he was telling us that the problems they've caused is up to us. He said the most important gift we have was our mind. And he said, how can we solve problems if we don't have a mind with drugs and alcohol?
Yeah.
And he said, if you don't control your mind, something or someone else will. He said, you got to be able to stand up and control your own body, or control yourself, and stand up for yourself.
Good point. Now, I know, of course, all the schools in the Norman Public School District are doing various activities this week, but I think you mentioned earlier that West is doing something really special, I guess on Friday, involving the entire student body. Tell us about that.
We're going to have a rally on our football field. Steve Owens is coming to speak. The vision is to have our entire student body, faculty, staff, everybody, dogs if they're around, in our drug-free T-shirts. And then the band will play, the choir will sing, and we're going to form a human chain with a red ribbon around the football field. Again, as Ernestine says, to show the unity, the fact that we want to include everybody in this sense of mission and this very important task that we have ahead of us. I think that our teachers feel most fortunate in being able to work with young people like John and Ernestine. Their enthusiasm and their willingness to invest in this program is such a reward for us. It's really a moving experience.
Oh, I can tell.
Part of it.
I can tell. It's had that effect on me too. John, Ernestine, Mary Jane Argentos, I want to thank you so much for being on this week. We're out of time. I think we pretty well got the message across of what we want everybody to know, and we wear it on our front and tell the world about it. And I sure appreciate the pride and enthusiasm that you brought to the show, and hopefully this can spread throughout the town and throughout the nation and become an annual thing and have all kinds of wonderful effects. Thanks again for being on the show.
Okay. Thanks.
Good. And thank you all for watching Class Action. See you next week.